Have you ever merged a pull request, everything's green, and then later someone asks, wait, did the security team actually approve that workflow change? In GitHub today, a code owner's file can ask the right people to review things, and branch protection can encourage good behavior, but none of that guarantees that the specific team you care about actually signed off on the right files following the right process. So, in this video, we're going to fix that with a new GitHub ruleset capability, required reviews from specific teams. We'll talk about how it works, how it fits with code owners, and I'll show you exactly how to wire it up in a couple of demos. Hey y'all, I'm Mickey Gousset, a staff DevOps architect at GitHub, and on this channel we talk about GitHub, DevOps, and how to make your engineering life a little less chaotic. Now today's topic is an important one to enterprise teams, governance. Now not the scary kind with 42 approval committees, but the kind where you can say with confidence, yes, the right team approved that change before it hit main. So we're going to show a quick refresher on code owners and rule sets. Look at what's new with required reviews from specific teams in rule sets. Run a couple of demos, a simple repo-level setup, and then an org-level governance example. And we'll wrap up with when to use code owners, when to use rule sets, or both together. Let's start with the problem. Code owners is fantastic at answering the question, who owns this code? It lets you map file patterns to individual users or teams, and GitHub automatically requests reviews from those owners when a pull request touches those paths. Now that's great, but in many organizations it's not enough. You might require a code owner approval before merge, but any one of those owners can approve, and you can't easily say, for these paths, I specifically need 2 members of the platform team, or for workflows, I need security to sign off. And if you're in a big org with hundreds or thousands of repos, managing all of that with one-off branch protection and giant code owner files gets messy fast. You end up with little snowflake configurations everywhere, and nobody's quite sure what's actually being enforced. Let's make sure we're all on the same page with some basics. So code owners is a file in your repo, usually in the root or in the .github folder, that maps file patterns to people or teams. So you might say the .github workflows, any files in that folder, are assigned to the platform team, or any files in the infra folder are assigned to the SRE team. When a pull request touches those files, GitHub automatically requests reviews from those owners. And if your branch protection or rule set says require code owner approval, then at least one of those owners has to approve before the PR can be merged. So code owners gives you ownership and notifications, and optionally required code owner approvals, but it's still relatively coarse-grained. The next piece of the puzzle, rule sets. Rule sets are a named set of rules that control how people interact with branches and tags. You could think of them as more modern, more flexible evolution of branch protection. With a rule set, you can say things like, this branch requires a pull request, it needs all its status checks to pass, it blocks force pushes, and it requires a certain number of approvals. And importantly, rule sets can apply at the repository, organization, or even enterprise level. So you can express policy once and have it flow out into a bunch of repositories instead of reconfiguring each repo by hand. Now, the key idea that I want you to hold on to in this video is this. Code owners is about ownership. Who cares about a file? Rule sets are about enforcement. What must happen before a merge? They're not competing features. You actually want both. Code owners tells GitHub who to pull into the review conversation. Rule sets Tell GitHub what is absolutely required before we allow that merge button to light up. Okay, with that foundation, let's talk about the new hotness, required review from specific teams in rulesets. GitHub has added a new option, currently in public preview as of this recording, inside rulesets that lets you say, for these branches and these file paths, I need N approvals from this list of teams. So you might say, on main, if a change touches the .github workflows folder, I need 2 approvals from the platform team. Or you could specify at the org level. Across all production repos, any changes to the deploy folder must have at least one SRE team approval. And the crucial thing is this augments code owners. Code owners still defines ownership and auto requests reviews. Rule sets now add precise policy enforcement, which teams must approve, how many approvals you need, and where in the code base that applies. Some common places where this is incredibly useful include your main or release branches, basically anything you treat as production. Workflow files under the .github workflows folder, because those can change your CI/CD behavior. Deploy scripts under your deploy folder, or infrastructure as code in your infra folder. You want to be sure the right teams sign off there. Security might own workflows, SRE might own deploy scripts, and your platform team might own shared tooling. Rule sets let you encode that in a way that GitHub can enforce across many repositories. Okay, that's enough slides. Let's look at this in practice with a simple repo-level example. In Demo 1, we're in an organization called DevOps Elvis with a repository called rulesets demo. And we're going to look at a code owners file that assigns ownership to the platform team. We're going to set up a rule set on the main branch and configure that rule set so that any changes to our workflow files requires 2 approvals from the platform team. Then we'll open a pull request and see how GitHub enforces that. Okay, so here we go with our first demo around using rule sets in teams to be able to require reviewers on a pull request. So let me show you what we've initially got set up so far. We have a repository here. In that repository, in the .github folder, we have a code owners file. And in that code owners file, you'll notice that we are specifying that the .github workflows, anything in that workflows folder is owned by the platform team. And while anything in the source folder is owned by the app team. So that's what we're going for right now. We've got that code owners file in place. And if we go to settings, we're going to create a rule set now that just uses the code owners file, just to kind of show you what happens when you start with just a code owners file. So we're going to go under rules, and remember, rule sets can be created at the enterprise, org, or repository level. This particular demo, we're doing it at the repository level. So we'll go to rule sets, and we'll create a new rule set, and we want to create a new branch rule set. So we'll give that rule set a name, and we're going to call this the code owners rule set. We're going to set that rule set to be active. I am going to allow org admins to bypass this. And we're going to target this rule set at the default branch on this repository. And then we're going to say this rule set requires a pull request before merging. You'll notice I'm not going to select any required approvers, but I am going to select this, which is require review from code owners. So that setting right there is going to allow us to automatically populate the reviewers with that team that we specified when we say modify a workflow file. So I'm going to click that checkbox. and I'm going to click create. Now, all we've done with this rule set is we've said, hey, if there's a code owners file in place, we want to follow the rules associated with the code owners file on the pull request. So if we come over here to code and we go and make a change, so let's add a new file, and we're going to create a new file in the .github/workflows folder, and we'll just call it test.yaml. We're not going to make a real workflow file. We'll just start one. So we'll say name is test. And we're going to go commit those changes. And you'll notice that it automatically suggests that I go to a branch, which is good. So we're going to say, we'll call this the Mickey Gousset code owners test branch. And then we'll use that and go and create a pull request. So we'll use Copilot to generate summary for my pull request. And we'll click create pull request. You'll notice already though, up here in the reviewer section, that the platform team is already set as a reviewer. And that's because we're making a change in an area that we've specified in the code owners team that they need to approve it. Now, let's create this pull request real quick. Now, if we go back up to the organization level and take a look at teams, then you'll see we have a platform team. And in that platform team, we have me, because I created it. And then we have two other people listed as reviewers in the platform team, Octodemo and Octodemo 2. Now, the catch with using a code owner file like this, where we've said we need a review from the platform team, is we can't specify, oh, we need 2 people from the platform team, or we need 3 people from the platform team. It's going to be the first person to approve it or the first person to reject it is going to allow this to go through. So if I switch my users and I switch over to, say, Octodemo, then we can see I've been requested to give a review. So I'll come in here and add my review. And I'm going to say, looks good to me, ship it. And I'm going to approve it. And by approving it, then we're now ready to go. Now we can merge this pull request, move forward with it. So the code owners file, which is what we've had for the longest time, gives us some control, but it doesn't allow us to really, if we wanted to have multiple approvals from that team, it doesn't allow us to do that. So let's look at how we can use this new feature in rule sets to specify teams to go along with, what we can do in the code owners file as well. All right, so first thing we'll do is we'll go back to our rule set. And I'm logged in as the wrong person, so let's switch back to me. And we'll go to rules, and we'll go to rule sets. And we could create a new rule set that is just the team's rule set. We could add it to this existing rule set. Let's just add it to the existing rule set. So let's go into this existing rule set. Let's change the name. This is going to be just, code owners plus team required rule set. We'll keep it active. Again, bypass, that's all that, none of that changes. And we'll keep the code owners as selected under here. But now we're going to also add in this one. Require review from specific teams. So that's going to allow us to do something like this, where we select that checkbox, and now we can specify multiple reviewers if we want to. So we could come in here and we could say, you know what? We're going to specify that the platform team, we're going to require 2 approvals from the platform team, and it's going to be any time that we see something at, let's try, make sure we get the pattern right, /github/workflows/**. So what this should do, and we'll click done. So you'll see I'm requiring 2 approvals. I'm matching on this file pattern. And so if I make a change in the workflows folder to any of the files, then I automatically will require 2 approvals from 2 different people on the platform team. Now I could add multiple other reviewers in here as well. So I've got a set of reviewers for making changes to the front end or changes to the back end. So we can add in all of that different information into, we could set those different reviewers if we wanted to. But right now, what should happen is I require a review or 2 approvals from the platform team in order to be able to merge a change to the workflows. So let's scroll down here to the bottom and save our changes. All right, our changes are saved. So now let's come back up here to code and you'll notice that the workflow file isn't there because we haven't merged that previous pull request, which is fine. So let's go add a new file. And we'll call this, we'll put this in the workflows folder, and we'll call this, test2.yaml. And we'll give it a name test2. And we'll click commit changes. And we're going to commit this to a branch. We're going to call this the Mickey Gousset testing team approval branch. We'll propose the changes. Again, we'll have Copilot pop this up here, give us a summary. And we'll create the pull request. Now, you'll notice that the merge is being blocked because we're waiting on 2 approvals from the platform team. All right, so let's change over to be the first person from the platform team. And we'll come in here and we'll add our review. And we will say, looks good to me. And we will approve it. So now what we can see is we've got 1 approval. So there's the person that approved it. And you'll notice that the platform team isn't showing up here in the reviewers section, right? But it does show that I approved it. However, down here, we're still blocking the merge. Still blocking that merge because we're still waiting on 1 more approval before we can actually merge this pull request. Now you'll notice that we did satisfy the code owners requirement. Because we had two things in here. We had a code owners requirement and we had the rule set rule about the teams. And so we did satisfy the code owners requirement. So that's good. So now let's change over to the other user, and we'll come in here and we'll say, go to the files that were changed. We'll review the change. And we're also going to say, looks good to me as well. Ship it. and we will approve. Or I could request changes and I could block it. But in this case, I'm going to approve, and I'll click submit to submit this review. And with both reviews submitted, you can see that, both people have approved, and we are good to go. We are now ready to merge this file. So what we've been able to do is, by using this new feature of requiring teams to approve, and you can specify the number of approvers, we can have more control over that approval process. So now we've gone from just code owners requesting some folks and one of them approving or rejecting, to we're enforcing a 2-platform team members that must approve the workflow changes before we can move those changes into production. Next, let's zoom out from one repo to an organization level view. In Demo 2, we'll imagine we're an enterprise that wants consistent controls across multiple repositories. All main and release branches should be protected. Any changes to the .github workflows folder must be approved by the security team. Any changes to deploy must be approved by the SRE team. We'll use an organization rule set to do that once, then apply it across a set of repositories so every PR that touches those paths gets the same enforcement, regardless of which repository it's in. Okay, so we just saw in the first demo how we can do all this at the repo level, with a rule set at the repo level and by specifying the teams in the rule set. But some of the nice power of this is the ability to declare these rule sets at the enterprise or the org level as well. So we're going to kind of do the same demo, but we're going to broaden it out, and I'm going to do all of it straight up in front of you. So we're going to build everything from scratch, and we'll see how this works. So the first thing is I need 2 different teams just to kind of prove to you that this kind of works. So let's go back up to the organization level, and let's create 2 teams at the organization level. So we'll create a new team here. We will call this team the security team, and we'll create the team, and we will add our octodemo Mickey-octodemo to the security team. Oh, I hope I remember the password. Oh, wait. Oh, well, why don't we change to be the real user that I want to be, which is me. And why don't we just delete this team and start over. Highway to the danger zone. All right, let's try this again. However, I'm going to leave all that in there because I can. So let's create a team. So we're going to create a new team. We're going to call this one the security team. Security-team. Create the team. And then we're going to add a member to this team, and we're going to add Mickey-octodemo as a member of this team. Then we're going to go back to teams, and we're going to create one more team, just so we have 2 different teams. And we'll create the SRE team. And the SRE team, we're going to add my other user, octodemo2. So we've got 2 teams. Now, the whole point of having an organization level rule set is you can apply it to one or more repositories or multiple repositories. So there's multiple ways you could target a repository with this as well. One of those ways, which is the way we're going to try to make it work, is we go to settings. under repository, you can create what's called custom properties for your repositories. So we're going to create, and you can create these properties at the enterprise level, at the org level. So I'm going to create one at the org level here, and I'm going to call this use in demo. It's going to be my custom property. And essentially we're just going to be true or false. And I will let the repository actors be able to set this if they want to. And I'm not going to require it. I'm going to make it optional. And I'm going to save this property use in demo. Sweet. So we now have this custom property use in demo, and we want to target our rule set at this custom property, meaning that anytime we create a new repository and we set this custom property to be true, our rule set would automatically apply to that repository. So let's create that rule set at the organization level. So here we are still in the organizational settings. So we'll go to rule sets, and I will create a new branch rule set. And this is going to be the require team approval demo rule set. Now you notice I haven't created any repos for us to use yet, but that's okay. I'm going to set this to be active. I'm going to add, again, org admins as a bypass. And then I can specify the repositories that I want to target. So I could say all repositories, selected repositories, repositories that match a filter, repositories that match a name. I'm going to add in a filter where I say custom property, and my custom property was use in demo. So if use in demo is true, this rule set will apply. Right now, I don't have any repositories. That's okay. We're going to target this rule set at the default branch. And then, of course, we can come down here. We can request pull request before merging. We can require a certain amount of approvals if we want to. But the thing we care about, again, is requiring a review from a specific teams. So we'll come in here and we'll add a reviewer. And we're going to say the security team needs to approve. I need at least one approval from the security team whenever there's a modification to .github/workflows, anything in there. And then I'm also going to add a different one for the SRE team. And again, I'll just require one approval, which is going to be anytime somebody makes a change in the deploy folder, they would get automatically added. And then we'll click create. All right, so let's create a couple of repositories for us to use for this and show you how those repositories get targeted automatically by this rule set. Notice right now, if we are matching against 0 repositories right now. All right. So let's come back out here to repos, and let's just create a new repository, and we will call this ruleset demo app 1. I don't have anything. No, my repository wasn't required, so I'll continue on to configuration. I'm going to set this to be, I'll set it to be public. It's fine. Go ahead and add a README, and I'm going to create the repository. So now I can go into the repo. Go to custom properties, and wherever my using a demo, I can set this to be true. Save that change. So now that I've set that property to be true, In theory, if we come back out here to DevOps Elvis and we go to settings and we go to repository and we go to rulesets and we go look at that one. You can see we're now matching against that one repository. That's awesome sauce. So let's create one more repo just to show you that this does what I say it does. So we'll create a new repository. We will call this ruleset demo app2. The configuration. Hey, we'll make this one public too. Why not? Turn it and click create repository. Then we'll go into the settings of that repository and custom properties. And we'll say true. So I now have that rule set that is targeted against both of those two repos, and it automatically targeted them just by setting that custom property. That's really nice. All right, so let's go make a change. Well, we're here in code 2, so let's make this change let's make a change here in the code 2 repository. Oh, I don't want to pull it. I could pull it down, but we're just going to add a new file. So we'll come in here and we will add a .github/workflows/pleasework.yaml. And again, we will just start a YAML file, please work. And I'm going to click commit. And we'll just go to patch 1. That's fine as far as the branch. We'll propose this change. And again, have Copilot generate our summary for us. And create a pull request. And then you'll notice that we're blocked because we are waiting on approvals from the security team, because the security team are the ones that made the changes are the ones that have to approve changes to the workflows. Now, want to try something fun? Let's try something fun. Let's go back to that same branch. So let's switch to that branch where we made the change. And let's add another change. And this time we're going to add a change to the deploy folder. We're adding, say, a deploy shell script, and we're going to commit that change to the same branch. Now, because we have an open pull request, what I'm hoping is the pull request is then going to get updated to show that we also need an approval from the SRE team. So if we go back to pull requests, and check this out. Merging is blocked because we are waiting on approvals from the security team and the SRE team. So I could switch over, say, to Octodemo. And I could say, okay, let's go look at the changes. Looks great. Approved. Do it. And click submit review. So you can see I have approved these changes. Oh, that's interesting. Changes reviewed, no applicable reviews were submitted by, and I don't, because right now I only have read access to this repository because we didn't add this repository to the team. And I haven't set my team to where it has all write access or anything, so I approve these changes with read-only permissions. So let's go see what happens. If I switch back over to Mickey, so it does show that I approve the changes, but because I approve these changes with just read access, it didn't actually pick them up to qualify for the security team review. Well, that's good to know. So I came in and approved it, but since I didn't have write access, it's not actually qualifying it to be an appropriate review. All right, let's go completely off script then. So let's go to DevOps Elvis. And so there's a couple of ways you could get around this, right? One of which is I could go into the team itself. So like the security team. And I could add that repository here and give them write access. Another option would be to assign, let's see, that's repository rule. Where am I? Trying to remember exactly where I need to go to do this. Is it organizational roles? All repository write. All right, so let's try this. So if I go to role assignment and I say, oh wait, no, that's how I want to do it. Go to teams. All right, so I want to assign a role. I'm going to select my team, which was called security-team. And I'm going to give it all repository write. And then I'm going to assign that role to my team. So my security team has all repository write assigned to it, which therefore affects these two users. You can see it was granted all repository write. So I wonder, will that change the pull request check or not? Or because I still made it with my read-only access, does it go, nope, doesn't apply? I think we're in this one. So let's go back to our pull request. And let's do a quick little refresh. Now we have a green check mark. And it does count. You can see here if we zoom in that we're now only needing the approval from the SRE team. So that's a good thing to know. Usually you have to have write access. You have to have write access to approve a pull request to satisfy different rules. So the fact is we forgot to give ourselves write access. So we gave ourselves write access, and because we had approved the PR, then it all kind of fell into place. But there you go. We've now shown an example of how you can make this rule at the organization level, apply it to multiple repos, and be able to enforce your org-wide rules of needing to have teams and a certain amount of people on each team do the approval across multiple repos really easily. Now, after you've seen all this in action, the natural question is, so when do I use code owners and when do I use rule sets? And when do I combine them? Here's the short version. Use code owners when you want to define who owns part of the code base and who should get pulled into the review automatically. It's great for ownership, visibility, and notifications. Use rule sets when you want to define what must happen before a merge, required approvals, status checks, and now required approvals from specific teams for specific paths. Use both together when you want a strong story. Code owners defines who cares. Rule sets define what is mandatory before we integrate changes. That's where you get reliable governance at scale. Now, of course, there are a few gotchas. First, who can configure this? You need to be a repo admin or have a custom role with edit repository rules permissions to create and edit rule sets. So this is typically platform or admin territory, not every developer. Second, for team-based reviews to work, those teams need to be visible and have the right access to the repo. If your team can't be used in code owners, it probably can't be used cleanly here either. Third, remember that you can have multiple rule sets applying to the same branch, and they can come from different scopes, the repo level, the org level, or the enterprise level. Be deliberate about rule layering so you don't surprise folks. And finally, don't toss out your code owners files. This new rule is designed to augment code owners, not replace it. Okay, let's wrap this up. We looked at how code owners gives you ownership and notifications, how rule sets gives you enforcement, and how this new required team review rule lets you say these specific teams must approve these specific paths before we merge. If you want to try this out, my suggestion is pick a repo. Identify one or two critical paths, maybe workflows and deployment scripts. Create a rule set that requires team approvals just for those paths, and run it for a couple of weeks. Gather feedback from your devs and your leads, and then start scaling it out to more repos or an org level rule set. If you found this useful, hit like and please subscribe, and let me know in the comments how you're using rule sets and code owners together in your environment. Thanks for watching.